Welcome to Real Rewind, the show where we jump back into the movies that stuck with us after the credits rolled. From iconic lines to behind the scenes secrets, we are diving into the films worth watching and rewatching. Grab your popcorn. The show starts now.
Episode 1. This is exciting. How's it
This
going,
is
Paul?
very good. I'm excited. We've been kind of talking about doing this for a while. Glad we're doing it. You and I have these movie conversations all the time anyway. Might as well do it and eventually get paid to do it. At least that's what my wife says that we should do. So I'm really excited to have some interesting movie conversations. I don't think we're always going to agree, but I think it's going to be good conversation.
I think for the most part we're going to.
Maybe.
I think there's going to be more times than not that we're going to agree on the movie. Okay, so just so everybody understands what we're going to do here with this, we're going to rewatch our favorite movies. This is the joy of being the hosts. We get to pick the movies that we like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, because since we're going to rewatch them, I'm not going to watch horrible movies. Maybe we will, just for fun. Like watch some bad ones. Not right now. But for the most part, they're going to be movies we like. So maybe we'll disagree maybe on the level of rewatchability, but I think we generally tend to like the same movies. So I think we're going to be pretty safe. And I know today on this one that we're going to cover for our first episode, which this one is massive blockbuster. We agree on this one.
Oh yeah,
for
sure.
Pretty close. Sure. But yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to talk about, and this is just in general, we're going to talk about some facts about the movie, the actors, the director, when it came out, how did it do in the box office, those sorts of things, the nuts and bolts of the movie itself. And then we're going to get into like the stuff that we really liked, quotable lines, great scenes, just some fun little trivia stuff. And then at the end, we'll rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being, I don't care time of day or what part of this movie's on, I'm going to stop and watch it. 1 being I'm not probably going to watch it all that often. It's probably going to collect some dust on the shelf, if you even have movies on the shelves anymore. I think I just dated myself. It's not
I have a few left.
It's not going to get clicked on the old streaming box too often.
Yeah, right.
So but today, Back to the Future, a big one. So like I said, Monster, yes. 1985. So when you hear that date, how's it make you feel? 40 years ago.
Old. I was 5 years old when this came out. And surprisingly enough, it came out on my birthday. And we'll get into that. It came out on my birthday in 1985. I don't remember it because I was only 5. But I will tell you, like, this is a movie, when I think of my childhood, this is a movie that I think of. This is one of those movies for me, The Karate Kid, like those movies, that was my childhood. So I have very fond memories of this whole movie.
But hard to believe that we are actually past the date when Doc Brown travels to the future to see how the future is, yes, and how much it's changed. We are well past that date now.
Yes.
That's crazy.
And I think I saw something that we're the age of Marty's parents went, like, in modern day when he went back in time, which is also really kind of like, what?
And we didn't get our hoverboard, and we didn't get our flying cars.
And our self-lacing Nikes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, self-lacing
Nikes.
Part 2.
We got gypped. No, yep. Was it Jaws 85?
And the 3D where it comes across
But we were obsessed with 3D for a while, so they did get that right.
That is true. And they did predict a baseball team in Miami. Fun little fact, I worked for the baseball team in Miami. So
There you go. In
another profession time. So
right.
And at the time there was no team down there. So, cool little things. But that's part 2 and part 3 and all that stuff. But we're talking about part 1 today, the one that started it all. And as you mentioned, came out July 3rd, 1985. It was produced through Universal Pictures. Um, so we'll just go through the info real quick on it, and then we'll get to the fun stuff. The cast, main stars: Michael J. Fox, Marty McFly. Christopher Lloyd was Dr. Emmett Doc Brown. Leah Thompson played Marty's mom, Lorraine McFly. Crispin Glover was his dad, George McFly. Thomas F. Wilson, Biff Tannen, great bully.
Oh
Biff,
yeah.
what a great bully name. And then Claudia Wells for this
Mm.
episode, was Jennifer Parker, Marty's girlfriend. She does not appear in the other ones. She
No.
gets replaced.
Hmm.
Um, Director
Now,
was Robert. Oh, go ahead.
wh-
Sorry.
when people do when like TV shows or movies do that where they replace an actor, I'm a fan of when they kind of make a comment about it, like, "Oh, did you do something different with your hair?" Or
Right.
like where it's like, "Okay, let's just put this on the table. We all know that this is someone else." So yeah, I kind of like when they do stuff like that.
Yeah. Director. Yeah, I do too. The director was Robert Zemeckis,
Hmm.
who was a Spielberg protege.
Hmm.
Um, the writers were Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. Fun little fact on this: Bob Gale, as one of the writers, found his parents' yearbooks, his father's, and was going through them, and he wondered would they have been friends if they grew up together, and that kind of spawned this idea of Back to the Future, Marty going back, seeing his parents, all that fun stuff. And then Steven Spielberg was one of the executive producers. They added him because he was a name. It legitimized the movie. It got some funding from Universal that was essential, and so they added him on there, and he had a part in it. And then as far as the box office, I said right from the start, we're covering a monster blockbuster. 1985 budget. So these are all 85 numbers. $19 million budget. Its opening weekend, which was that coveted July 4th weekend, did $11 million in the US, so almost made back all of its money
Right.
opening weekend. Domestically, it did 210 million. Worldwide, 381 million. It was the highest grossing film of 1985, so not too
Wow.
bad on a $19 million budget. They got their money back.
Absolutely.
It was number one for 11 weeks, and it became one of Universal's most profitable films ever.
Wow.
Yeah, so huge film. And then as far as, if you look at awards and how it was recognized, it did win an Academy Award for Best Sound Editing, and then it was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, Best Sound, Best Original Song, which was The Power of Love.
Love that song.
Oh, it's a great song. It was selected by the Library of Congress for preservation as culturally significant. And then, of course, we know two sequels came after this. There was an animated series, there were video games, theme park attractions. I
Let's
got
say
to
there's a
ride the one.
ride. There's a ride at Universal.
Yeah, I rode the one in Orlando. I grew up in Florida and I rode the one in Orlando. Um, and then there's still touring. There's a Broadway musical.
Yeah, and
So
I mean, I think every time um, Comic Con comes around, you see the cast at one of the conventions. Those who are still able to do it. So I think it's a very relevant even today, and it's crazy that Congress would want to put that in their archives as something that's culturally relevant. That says a lot for a movie.
well, and I think what was so cool with it was, for the special effects, because I love the practical effects
Hmm.
idea. Yes, today we have, CGI and things like that, and you can do a little more, but there's something to be said for the practical effects side of things. It just gives you that more realistic feel. I think that's why, talking about movies that I worked in, like look at the original Star Wars trilogy,
Yeah,
the practical effects when you compare it to the next set of trilogy that comes along, which went heavy green screen, you
I
can see the
mean,
difference,
there was no actual real set in that movie. It was
right?
all green or blue screen. So even reacting to things is hard as an actor if it's not actually there.
And it just makes a level of just fun to the movie. And
Yeah,
this this is a fun movie. So, I love, and again, the whole theme of the movie, the whole idea, the plot of the movie is, um, Marty's friends with this eccentric Doc, Doc Brown,
Hmm.
um, who builds this time machine. Um, he ends up being shot by Libyan terrorists,
It's the Libyans. Run for it, Marty.
which, again, we're gonna 1980s date it.
I had to
We would
explain to
kind
my
of
kids why the Libyans were such a
why the
big deal
Libyans,
because
right?
they're like, first of all, who are the Libyans?
Right.
you know,
It wouldn't be that group today.
and okay, so let's get something out here. So we're both dads, right?
Yeah.
Um, I would never let my kids go hang out with some random scientist guy
Yeah.
because like Marty's just an average kid. He's not like some brainiac. He's not
No.
some super smart. Like he's just a normal kid. And it's like, first of all, how did you run into this guy? Like, how did you meet him? How did you become friends? And as a dad, there is no way I'm like, oh yeah, go play with the crazy scientist guy, because I'm sure in this town it's like, oh yeah, crazy Doc Brown, like, insane guy.
Well, remember, there's the scene where Marty goes to Doc's house to start it off, and then realizes that he's late to school, and he gets to
Yes,
school,
yes.
and what's the principal get in his face and yell at him? You should stop messing with that, that
Yeah,
crazy guy, that crazy
that's
Doc
right.
Brown. So he was the neighborhood kook.
So yeah, so
I mean,
what good parent is like, oh yeah, that's cool.
well,
I mean, but
you
let's
you meet
go
you
back to
meet
who his
Marty's
parents originally.
we meet Marty's parents in this one, and Dad's got that that weird laugh that
Yeah.
he's
Oh
doing.
my gosh.
His brother and sister are not too cool either,
Mm-mm,
to say
mm-mm.
the
Yeah.
least. So, but I love the opening where it opens and you see like all the clocks on the wall. You talk about like things that maybe kids today wouldn't understand. They were all
Yeah.
these analog clocks. They weren't smartphones or smart devices that you just told to set the time, and they're all set. And he has this whole like machine that feeds the dog and does all this stuff. And here's Marty
The
coming in to
toast.
hook up to the amp. Yes, yeah. So
Now, what I loved about that as a kid, I would have made something like that with like connects, like trying to build little, because I was always the builder. So Doc Brown, I immediately connected to him because he was making inventions. And I always found that to be a cool thing.
yeah, and the whole thing was cool. And so Marty gets the call, come meet me at 1:30 in the morning or
Hmm.
1:35. Like he gives him this early morning time, and you kind of then this is where you meet his parents who they're living in kind of a rundown neighborhood, slummy neighborhood. Brother works at a fast food place. Sister, I don't think we really hear. I don't remember hearing like what his sister really does, but she's kind of one of these
No.
who's trying to be a little more standout. Like she's got her hair all done up with
Yeah.
makeup and stuff. Marty, we meet his girlfriend, and they're planning to go off to the lake together without telling their parents.
Hmm.
Teenage stuff, and then we meet Biff, and the car's wrecked, and you can see Biff bullying, George McFly. So you get kind of that feeling. Then here's Marty at 1:30 in the morning or whatever, going to see Doc, and one of the most iconic scenes that you're gonna have when that DeLorean rolls out.
Hmm.
Um, of all the cars, um, they picked DeLorean, which have some fun. Go read about that whole thing with the car itself. Like not the movie, but the actual car company and the DeLorean who came up with it. It's weird.
Which I heard a lot of the reason is because the DeLorean had that very like science fiction future, like the doors that like went
The
up like
winged doors.
that.
Yeah, the
And
winged
it,
doors.
it just it that DeLorean just had a very like sci-fi futuristic look to it. I almost kind of even like look at like the Cybertruck has a very similar like DeLorean, like it has like that
Yeah.
futuristic type of look where it has that metal look. And yeah, it was a really cool car.
Yeah, and so fun little fact. The DeLorean almost wasn't used.
Hmm.
Um, there was talk early on in the script that they were going to use a refrigerator.
Which is so
Um,
random.
yeah, but Spielberg nixed it. He was worried that kids were actually going to start climbing into their own refrigerators at home.
Hmm.
And to your point, one of the reasons that they went with the DeLorean is it had that stainless steel structure that you see in the movie, and it gave it that futuristic vibe, plus with the wing doors and everything with it. But yeah, could you imagine a refrigerator?
It would be a completely different movie.
I don't think it would have. I think it would have bombed.
Oh yeah, it would have been weird.
It really would have been. I don't even know.
I mean, you
So
can't get to the 88 miles an hour in a refrigerator.
right, what do you have to do? Adjust the temperature to like 88 degrees?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, I don't know. Um, Fun little fact too. So when you think this movie, you think Michael J. Fox.
Hmm.
Um, he was not the original Marty.
He was not the original Marty.
Eric
For a
Stoltz.
while.
Yeah, for a
He
while.
was not the original Marty.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz was originally Marty McFly. They actually had done about 5 weeks of shooting, so pretty far in. And Zemeckis um, didn't think that Stoltz was capturing the comedic side of
Hmm.
it. And Universal, talk about like having faith, and maybe this was having Spielberg on it. They greenlit the reshoots, which is
Right.
unusual because that would have been expensive. They were far into filming, and for those that know Michael J. Fox, he was involved in this tiny little TV show at the time,
Yeah, Family Ties. Which
Family Ties.
Michael J. Fox was the original want. Zemeckis wanted Michael J. Fox. NBC said no because he was in filming. So that's when they went to Eric Stoltz and it just didn't work. So then they went back and NBC said, well, as long as it doesn't interfere with filming Family Ties, he can do it.
Which is crazy because his film schedule, so he would do Family Ties during the day, Back to Future at night,
Mm-hmm.
and they were saying he was sleeping as little as 3 to 4 hours.
I was watching this documentary several years ago, and Michael J. Fox actually talks about he had a driver that would drive him, and he would like nap in the car, and then at night after they were done filming, the driver would drive him home and literally like pick him up and carry him into the house and like put him in his bed because he was passed out because they were filming late into the night, and then he's back up early in the morning the next day to film Family Ties.
Yeah, so his shooting schedule was Family Ties from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Then he would go over and shoot Back to the Future from 6:30 p.m. to 4 a.m. And they have quotes from him saying that he doesn't remember chunks of the film because he was so exhausted, which is amazing to me because of how good he was in this movie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And we mentioned this before we started recording. One of the what if things, and the tough thing is, with Michael J. Fox and having Parkinson's, um, you wonder what would have been. Um,
How
with
big of a star he
how
would have
big,
been.
and
Yeah.
he's huge, by the way, huge, and God bless him for what he's done for Parkinson's research
Hmm.
and everything. So I don't want to minimize what he's done because it's changed people's lives
Yeah.
because of him having this affliction. But it just kind of makes you wonder, like, what other big. I mean, he did two more of these. We talked about Teen Wolf and
Hmm.
all these movies. Um, but it just makes you kind of wonder, like, what more he would have done. And
Later
he
on,
still
yeah.
worked. And he still worked with it. I
Hmm.
mean, until it became too much. But it's one of those things where you just kind of go, man, this would have catapulted him to
Oh yeah. Oh
crazy
yeah.
heights.
Well, and you talk about like perfect casting. Michael J. Fox was perfect casting for this character. You know, I mean, even in just doing some research on the movie, they talked about how a lot of Marty's reactions and even some of his one-liners were not in the script. That was his comedic timing, that those things he would do them and they were like, "Oh my gosh, that's great. You know, we're going to keep that in the movie." So he was just the perfect person to play this character.
He was, and actually, I think one of the cool things about this whole movie is just the casting overall. Um, like can't picture anybody but Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown.
Mm-mm.
And the two of them, like their chemistry was awesome.
Yeah.
Like did you like and
As
you
a
said
duo, yeah.
but you even said like as a dad, like who lets their kid go hang out with this weird old guy who's, you know, by the way, stealing plutonium
Yeah, from the Libyans.
from the Libyans, because that's how the DeLorean ran. The time machine had
Well, the
plutonium.
1.21 I'm already going into the lines.
Yeah, into the lines.
1.21 gigawatts.
Great Scott. Um, but like he steals it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So already there's this like weird edge that this guy has. But man, did they play off of each other perfectly. But like Leah Thompson, who to me, of all the I mean, because it's easy to say like, look what Michael J. Fox did, look what Christopher Lloyd did. Leah Thompson was phenomenal in this movie because she plays, you know, older Lorraine, then teenage Lorraine, and then older Lorraine again. Like she had to go through this whole cast where you know the other ones kind of stayed pretty steady. Well, Crispin Glover playing, you know, the dad, but he pretty much is the same character until the very end. He's just a younger version of his nerdy self.
Right.
But man, she was great in this movie. And it's funny because you watch it and like in the beginning they're giving her a hard time. Oh, mom, because Marty's girlfriend calls the house and she doesn't like the fact that, you know, his girlfriend's calling the house.
Yeah, what was it? Oh. Sitting in a parked car with a boy. I would never do that.
Yeah, I would never do that. And then, you know, if you haven't seen the movie, go see it. I don't know.
Yeah, stop what you're doing now
and go watch it,
and then come back.
And come back. Give us a like first, and then come back and. But you know, she goes through this whole thing of stuff that she would never do with a boy, and then Marty, you know, when the Libyans come, they shoot Doc. And he's left on the ground. Marty jumps into the DeLorean, gets into this high-speed chase, which I laugh because they're in a VW van, a Volkswagen van, chasing him through the roof. The Libyans got this, you know, machine
like
gun,
an AK or whatever. And
then he busts out the shoulder-propelled rocket launcher.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Right. Yeah. He's like trying to get it out of the van, and
yes. And you know, Marty gets it up to. He said, you know, like, let's see if you guys can go 90. And we know, like, as soon as you get to 88, he's
So fun fact. That is the first time I swore in front of my parents. I was watching the movie and I said that line after he says it. And my mom was like, "What did you just say?" And, because I had no idea that was a bad word. But so sometimes I go, why did our parents let us watch some of these movies?
So here's all right. So we're going to date ourselves here because we had this on VHS. And what my mom would do is, so I have a younger brother. There's 5 years between my brother and I. So what my mother would do is if you're old enough to remember VHS tapes, there's this little part on there that had like this peg that was broken off. If you put tape over it, you could record over the tapes. What my mother would do is she would watch the movies and she would find stuff that she didn't want us to hear or see, and she would record them out. So
nice.
They would be edited versions of the movies. Now, I obviously have seen this movie enough times. I know the line you're talking about. We are not going to say that line on here.
Yeah, but no, that is the first time I swore in front of my parents as a little kid.
Right. Awesome.
But had no idea I was swearing. So
right. So he travels back, and that's when we meet, you know, his dad sitting in the diner. And I love when they go back. You know, there's all these little like throwbacks. So the name of the mall is, and I want to get it right. If you got it in front of you,
it's the Twin Pines Mall.
Yes. So Doc goes through this whole thing about how he remembers that the farmer was trying to grow pine trees. So Marty goes back in time, and the farmer comes out and chases him at one point. They think he's an alien with a shotgun, and he runs over this. There's two pines at the end of the driveway where he's going over, and he runs over one of the pines and kills it. When he goes back at the end of the movie, it's now called the Lone Pine Mall. So I love that.
It's that little butterfly effect thing where it's like one of those changes when you change the past.
Yeah. It's so cool. And then here's Marty walking around 1955, completely out of. They keep asking him if he's got the sleeveless vest on.
Yeah, are you a sailor?
Are you a
'Cause
sailor?
Is a life preserver, which Universal Studios in Orlando sells that vest. There's like a Back to the Future shop, uh,
Right.
and they sell the orange vest there. But so let's go into, while we're talking about this, I think the soundtrack is amazing for this movie.
Huey
So
Lewis.
you go into that where he's in that town square and that dramatic music, and you feel that fish out of water, like something big has just happened, and you get that almost that same emotion he has, like, what have I done? Where am I? Like, this is crazy, because you hear the clock tower, which in the beginning of the movie you have the woman, save the clock tower, it hasn't rang since, and gives that date, and you hear, and in this dramatic music you hear the dong of the clock tower, and it's like, oh boy, he's in trouble.
Well, and he jumps like when it goes, because he would never have heard it sound, because it was struck by lightning during a storm. And his parents go through this whole thing about how they met on the night of this, or how they
Mm-hmm.
fell in love at the dance, the under the sea dance, or
Okay.
the enchantment
Yes,
under the
yes.
sea.
So we have
I
to
said it
stop.
wrong.
We have to stop right here, because this is how relevant this movie still is to me. My daughter's a senior, and they are planning their senior prom. My kids go to a co-op, a homeschool co-op, and they're trying to come up with a theme. And I said, call it the Enchantment Under the Sea Dance. And my daughter looks at me and goes, Dad, what movie did you get that from?
A great one.
I'm like, and it's the best name for. They did not pick Enchantment Under the Sea Dance, but that was my
They failed.
yeah, that was my choice.
So talking about the soundtrack, Huey Lewis and the news, but Huey Lewis, he actually makes a cameo. There's a scene
Yeah.
early on in the movie. Marty's is a guitar player, and he's got a band. Band's name is the Pinheads. What
Yes.
a great name.
And they were an awful band.
Well, they were, and Marty cheeses it up right in the front on the guitar. So they don't even get to sing. There's a
Mhm.
teacher there with a bullhorn that doesn't really
Yeah.
work, and so he shouts into it. You guys are too loud. It's Huey Lewis.
Hmm.
How great is that? That he gets a little cameo in the
In the
movie. But
movie, yeah.
what's funny is we'll go back to Lorraine real quick. So Marty, the whole thing is that his dad was hit by Lorraine's father while he was
Hmm.
driving. He was in the middle of the road, and they do this whole thing. What were you doing in the middle of the road? How'd you end up in the middle of the
Wasn't
road?
it bird watch? No, it was
Bird
wasn't it
watching.
bird watching?
Bird watching. So when Marty follows his dad out of the diner, and we see George climbing in the tree, he's got a pair of binoculars. He's looking into Lorraine's bedroom window,
Yeah.
watching her. And Marty has this line where he's like, "My dad is a
Dad's
peeping
peeping
Tom."
Tom.
Yeah, and so George falls out of the tree, and where he would have been struck by the car and ends up, in the house, and Lorraine falls in
Mhm.
love with him. Marty pushes him out of the way. He gets hit instead. He gets brought into the house, and here's his mom now on that flash forward, and he's in this bed recovering, and he wakes up delirious, and here's his mom as a teenager, and she's sitting on the bed next to him. She took his
She stripped his clothes off.
clothes off. Yeah,
Sitting on
yeah,
the
because
bed.
she says, she calls him Calvin Klein because the
Mhm.
name is written all over his underwear. And then she's like, "Oh, they must call you Cal," and he tells her,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
Marty." But here's this whole thing where, like, she was like, "Oh, I've never,
Yeah.
I had no interest in
He
boys
found out his mom
ever."
was easy and his dad was a pervert.
Pretty much, pretty much. So it changes the whole, dynamic. She starts very uncomfortably, and you can see it on
Yes.
Marty's face, that mom is interested in him.
There's a little
Um,
bit of an Oedipus storyline here. For those of you that know Greek mythology, there's a little bit of an Oedipus storyline here.
which so it makes you wonder. So we'll talk about this for a second. You look at today, and like what changed. We mentioned the Libyans; they wouldn't be the group now. Would they have allowed this to happen in a movie? And by the way, nothing happens between them.
No, yeah,
There's
no.
nothing. There's just this like tone where like
This really awkward
awkwardness, and
moment.
he makes it awkward because she doesn't know
Yeah, because he's
that
like,
this. Yeah,
yeah.
would they have included that in the movie today? I don't know if they would have.
I think there's a lot of things they probably wouldn't have
Yeah,
added in here.
but because of that, Marty has this picture, and his brother and sister start to fade because
Hmm.
now his dad's not the one that mom's falling in love
Hmm.
with as a teenager in high school. And so they go through this whole thing, and he meets Doc.
Hmm.
Um,
And that's where we get the call to action here. Like this is what we're doing in this movie is we have to fix this thing that Marty has messed up uh to save his future.
yeah, and so that's where we kind of go through, and he meets Doc, and Doc makes fun, which we talked about this too. So when Marty first arrives in 1955, he walks past this movie theater, and on the billboard, it's showing a movie starring Ronald Reagan. And
Hmm.
then Doc has this great scene where he says to him, all right, future boy, who's the president? And he tells him, oh,
Ronald
Ronald
Reagan.
Reagan. Oh, the actor?
Yeah. And he can't believe that Ronald Reagan is the president.
Right. Right. And it's so funny, and he has this back and forth. But he finally, he can obviously convinces him. And then there's just a cool thing with the dog. So in the beginning of the movie, you meet Einstein, which is
Einstein the
Doc
dog.
Brown's Einstein the dog. And then Doc in 1955 had Copernicus.
Copernicus.
So he's got all these great thinkers.
Well, and it's
Fun.
like the same type of dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you almost, obviously a dog isn't going to live from the 50s to the
No.
80s,
Right.
but they almost make it like it's like the same, like the same dog or, something like that.
So fun little note. Originally, they were talking about it to be a chimpanzee, and Universal shut it down. So they stuck with the dog. But
Mhm.
they were talking about Doc having a chimp, which, again, would it have changed a whole lot of things? No, probably not. But, can't imagine, Einstein being a chimpanzee after watching this
No,
movie. Like
yeah.
the dog just kind of fits. And so that does this whole thing where, you fast forward, you get to the dance. Marty has this iconic scene where he goes up on the stage with the band, and because there's this fight in the parking lot where, you know, his mother, not realizing that
Mhm.
Marty is her son from the future, they're going to the dance together. And Marty's
Yeah.
plan is, I'm going to get my mom and dad back together.
Well,
So I'm
he
going to go to the
devises the
dance.
plan with his dad that
Yes,
I'm gonna
that's
I'm
right.
gonna get all like, you know, all over her, and you're gonna come to the car, you're gonna pull me out, and you're gonna have this hero moment, and another, hey, you get your darn hands off her,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have this big like moment. Lorraine's gonna fall in love, and everything's gonna be perfect. Well, that would have made a shorter movie.
Well, because Biff shows up,
Yes.
and he gets into and he ends up punching Biff instead. Which Biff is the bully in 1955. He's the
Right.
bully in 1985 in the original timeline. But the guitar player gets his hand smashed in the car.
Yeah, because they
Through all
lock,
this.
because Biff and his buddies lock Marty in the
In
trunk,
the trunk.
of the band's car.
Yep.
So he's trying to get him out, and he cuts his hand.
And so now Marty steps in and plays guitar, and he's playing Johnny Be Good. And
Which love that song. I mean, that is a classic song.
well, and one of the cool non-practical effects of the movie happens there, because as he's playing, he starts to disappear.
Mm-hmm,
And then his parents have this magical moment on the dance floor where they kiss and fall in love. And all of a sudden he's back up, and he's able
that was
to
during
play.
Earth Angel.
Oh, Earth Angel. That's
Yeah,
what
when
it
he's
was.
playing guitar for Earth
That's what it
Angel,
was. Yes.
and he's and it's like he can't play it. Yeah, he
But his
starts,
hand's
and,
disappearing. He's
and when they
looking at
have that
himself. Yep.
kiss,
Yeah.
he hops back up and he starts like playing perfectly with Marvin Berry's band. Chuck
Yes.
Berry's cousin.
Chuck Berry's cousin.
Going back to lines, it's one of my favorites. Chuck, it's your cousin, Marvin Berry. You were looking for a new sound? Listen to this. And it's
And he
Johnny
and
Be
it's a
Good.
payphone. And it's a payphone that he holds up.
Yes, is sang by Chuck Berry.
Berry. Yep.
But I love he gets in that rock and roll, and my favorite is all the kids are sitting there staring, and he's like, this may be a little too heavy for you guys, but your kids are gonna love it.
So again, fun little fact about that scene. So obviously, Michael J. Fox is not the one playing live.
Right.
It's dubbed. However, to keep it realistic, he actually learned the chord shapes and he mimics the actual chords to the song.
That's cool.
So yeah, that let me tell somebody who plays guitar, myself,
Mhm.
um, man, are you dedicated? And again, consider his like filming schedule
Yeah,
that you
to
would do
learn
that.
how to do the chords on a guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so cool. And then of course, you jump to the end and there's the lightning. The storm is coming. They don't have plutonium to put into the car
To
to
get
send
to
them
the
back
1.21
with
gigawatts.
gigawatts.
1.20. I love you when Doc. We'll go back. Doc Brown's running through the house. 1.21
1.21
gigawatts.
gigawatts. Um, yeah, and so they got to use the lightning strike that strikes the tower. It
Mm-hmm.
goes down the cord. There's that whole thing where Doc does the iconic plug as the
Mm-hmm.
lightning
Oh
strikes.
yeah. Oh yeah.
He's dancing in the street with the tires that are on fire and the light. The whole thing is awesome, and those are scenes that they're burned in your mind. And then we see
Well, and then
Marty. Yeah.
remember, Marty tries to tell Doc because he
Oh
wants to
yes,
save him.
the
So he
letter.
tries to tell him. Well, and Doc's like, you can't tell me what happens in the future. So he writes the letter, and then you see Doc like rip it up and throw it away, and you're
Yep.
like, no, no, because he desperately wants his friend
To be
to
alive.
live. And
Yep.
yeah, so we have that. And I love how they kind of Easter egg the whole clock tower thing into the beginning. So now you have this, okay, this is how we can get you home. If we put this hook on the car and we hit that wire at the right time, we're going to be able to produce enough energy to be able to get you home.
Yeah, it's
Future
so cool
boy.
because everything future board because everything kind of ties. That's one of the great things about what really makes this movie stand up is how it's tied.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything loops. There's very few, and we're gonna get into my favorite at the very end. There's really only like one major plot hole, which
Mm-hmm.
we'll touch on at the end, and it's a fun one. It does
I
not
call it more
damage
of
the movie.
a writing hole.
Yeah. But it doesn't damage the movie in
No.
any way.
Mm-mm.
It's a fun. So cool thing to talk about that clock tower in that town square. If anybody's familiar with the movie Gremlins, it's the same lot. The town square is the
Great
same.
Christmas movie, Gremlins.
It is right up there with Die Hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Both. And I'm not saying that to be funny
No,
to the people out there
no,
who
no. This
argue
is not rage bait.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Absolutely.
We're not even going to go down that. You're not going to
No.
convince me otherwise. Um, Fun little fact too. So we mentioned that Jennifer, Marty's girlfriend, the actress was different for parts 2 and 3. She actually was not the original actress either.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, she was Jennifer too.
she was Jennifer too. They fired Jennifer 1 because when they hired Marty, he was shorter than Eric Stoltz, and the Jennifer, the actress playing Jennifer at the time, was too tall, so they had to recast her. So not only did they recast Michael J. Fox as Marty, they recast Jennifer again, um, with another actress. So little cool little note there as well. But you fast forward and then Marty goes back to 1985. His parents are changed. Now they're you know his dad's a lot cooler because he stood up to Biff. And mom is, I think what they've got like their tennis rackets and the
Yeah,
brothers got
I think they were going to play tennis, and like
tennis,
the brothers like this successful like
like businessman.
executive, and
Yeah,
yeah, the whole family changes because of this one moment. I mean, even Biff is now
waxing the car.
the nerdy guy who's waxing Marty's brand new
Truck that he saw in the beginning of the movie that he tells
Yes.
Jennifer that he really wants to take to the lake with her.
Yes.
And then we find Doc. And there's a great scene where, he sees Doc. He realizes because now he's back actually before the event happened where he went back in time. Like, so he shows up
as he
at the
was
mall.
leaving, he shows back up.
Yeah. So he shows up now. So Marty, he sees the scene where Doc is shot by the Libyans and disappears. So then he runs down and he's, no, Doc. Because I think in his mind, he's like, well, I can warn him. And we see this great scene where Doc sits up and opens up his jacket. It's a bulletproof vest. And he's got the letter that was ripped up. He had taped it back together.
Yes. And as a kid, as an adult, like I love it because you're so upset. Doc isn't, he refuses to know what happens, but I think, as any good scientist, his curiosity got the better of him.
Yep.
And he had to know. It was like, okay, this kid wants me to know this thing. I have to know. And thankfully he read it and he was able to put on the bulletproof vest, which tells you he did, unless you go into that what do they call that, the loop paradox, which there are a lot of time travel. You can get very into like the different types of paradox, but it's like, so then you ask, did Doc really die before Marty went to the past?
Right.
You know?
Either way, it's fun, and as a
Yeah.
kid, you're like, yes, Doc's
Yes.
alive.
Yes.
Yes, the Libyans think they killed him because they take off, and Doc's alive, and everything is right with the world. And
Mm-hmm.
Doc jumps in the car and takes off to the future. He wants to go. He's traveling 25 years into the future
Yes.
because he wants to see. And Marty tells him, look me up, when you go. And then it cuts back to Marty with Jennifer, which brings me to the writing hole, because at the very end of the movie, Doc shows up. The DeLorean comes flying in because now it can fly, because in 2010, when they jump forward, the 25 years, everybody gets a flying car, and it no longer runs on plutonium.
Right.
Um,
No, on garbage.
it runs on garbage. He's throwing banana peels and stuff. He's like, Marty, you got to come back with me. It's urgent. It's your kids. And this is the writing hole. So again, doesn't damage the story, but they have a time machine. What's the rush? Like, they have to rush. You got to rush to get back. You have a time machine.
And I never noticed that until you told me, and you go, oh, right. Like him and Jennifer could have gone to the beach like they planned. And, it could have been a year later and they could have gone back and did what they needed to do with their kids.
Yeah. And so that's just one of those things. It doesn't hurt the movie.
And Marty's line to Doc, that's one of those ones that was just a comedic reaction. He goes,
Yeah.
what happens? They become a-holes or something? Like that was just in one of the takes he did it, and like it worked. Yeah, it worked.
But it's just funny that they are in such a rush to get to the future when they could have gone 6 months later and it wouldn't have mattered. It just kind of makes you chuckle, because you're like, what's the point of having a time machine if you got to rush? But man, this movie is so fun. There's so many great lines. Biff, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
And get out of here. And it's like, what? Which I love going into the later movies when old Biff is like, it's make like a tree and leave. You sound like an idiot when you say it like that.
Yeah. I also like, roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
And that's when you see the DeLorean fly for the first time. The tires like flip up and you're just like, oh. Because, I mean, Tony, as kids, like a flying car was like the coolest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
What I love is that whole, when he's in the past, that fish out of water, right? Mm-hmm. So like he uses words like heavy, which in the 80s was a word that we used. And Doc Brown says, does something happen to gravity in your time? Like, so he's using or when he pulls out the camcorder and like Doc Brown is just like, what is going on here? This is the craziest thing I ever saw.
Yes. And this movie, I think, as we go through, like, because we're going to talk about rewatchability and just its overall impact, this movie just stands up because at its core, it's about, understanding who your parents are, understanding your family, this whole thing of like, the what if factor, what if these things happened and if they changed and those core, ideas, they stand true. The movie is not, I mean, yeah, it's dated. Like you said, nobody walks around and says heavy anymore. But like to this day, 1.21 gigawatts. You think of Back to the Future, Great Scott.
Yeah, or the
You think
flux
of
capacitor.
the flux
Like
capacitor.
when people ask me about time travel, I'm like, well, the only way it's possible is with the flux capacitor.
Right. Right. Like 40 years later, we're still talking about those things. And while
Mhm.
some things are data like the Libyan terrorists and that, and, analog clocks, the movie itself isn't.
The
Like,
story is a timeless story.
it really is. It's one of those that, like, it's going to stand up for
Yeah.
as long as people are watching movies. It really is.
Oh, going back, one of my favorites when he's back in the 50s, when he's in that diner and uh so before that it's reelect Mayor Goldie Wilson,
Oh
and
yeah,
he
where he
goes
tells him
back
about the
and he
Goldie
and
sweeping the
Goldie
floor.
and he's like, yeah, you're gonna be mayor. And this kind of tells you, even like, so when you go through time, like how things really kind of change. Like my grandmother's 99 years old, so she uses terminology that it's like, oh grandma, you can't really say that
And
anymore.
they use it in the
And
movie.
well, and the guy that runs the diner goes, a black mare. Okay, like he can't even believe that, because in the 50s that would have been something very unheard of.
And he tells
But
him to
yeah,
sweep
and
the
he
floor.
goes,
He
he
gives him a
goes,
broom.
yeah, I'm gonna be Mayor Goldie Wilson. I like
And
the
he's
sound of that.
most powerful man in Hill Valley.
You can start by sweeping the
The
floor.
floor. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Like the callback, and that's what's so awesome about the movie is that
Mhm.
they paid attention to the callbacks of the things that they set earlier on.
Yep.
You know, Twin Pines, the Lone Pine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those little things. Ronald Reagan on the sign. Ronald
Mm-hmm.
Reagan's the president. Like, those little things are what made it so cool. Is that they didn't let those little details slip, which a lot of movies will do that.
Yeah.
They'll let the details slip, but that's how you know this is a good one, is that they don't
Mm-mm.
do that.
And they're
Um,
all over, and the more you watch it, the more you see those little things that they put in this movie that you go, oh wow, okay, yeah, they're referencing something that already happened. And yeah, it's the writing is phenomenal in this movie.
phenomenal, phenomenal. Casting perfect. Can't
Mm-mm.
picture anybody else doing these
Mm-mm.
parts.
Mm-mm.
Um, Biff, oh my gosh, what a great bully! What a great
Oh
name for a
yeah.
bully, because the guy just sounds greasy
Oh yeah,
with a
sounds
name
like
like
an absolute jerk.
Biff Tannen.
Yeah.
Like, as he knocks on him, hello, hello,
Yeah. Hello,
McFly.
McFly.
Like,
Think, McFly, think.
just this movie. It's it is a study on how to do a good, not just sci-fi or comedy, just a good movie in general. Sets up part two, part
Yes.
three perfectly
Mm-hmm.
going forward.
And
I think they could make it.
you get the to be
Oh
continued, so
yeah,
you know something more is coming, at the end. But even without that, this movie is a perfect standalone movie. It
hmm
has a beginning, middle, and end. Even though they ended on a cliffhanger, you could just say, okay, Marty and Doc, they go on these adventures now, in a time
yeah.
machine, and you
But
could
it
just leave it
wraps
there
up.
and be satisfied with the story.
It wraps up the main story of that one, which a lot of
Yes.
movies don't always do when they go into a sequel. In fact, you can make the case that part two does as well, which is something that they really stuck to. You
Mhm.
know, where there was the cliffhanger, part two does the same. Like, they're viewable on their own, and you're not like, oh my gosh, what happens to this main story that we're driving? They introduce a new story to drive the next one, to drive the
Right.
next one,
Right.
which is, again, well done.
Yeah.
Like, awesome.
Now
Great.
there
Go
is
ahead.
some controversy in my house with
Uh-oh.
this trilogy, where they rank as far as the now me, I'm one, two, three, like in that order.
Yeah.
Now my wife likes three better than two. Which, don't get me wrong, I mean, I like three. Three's a great movie. It's very fun. I love that the whole Wild West, like that whole thing, you know, now he's not Calvin Klein, he's Clint
Clint Eastwood.
Eastwood. Yeah, and all that stuff. I love it. But yeah, one, two, three. It's that's how I view them.
I'm with
Uh,
you.
and to me, one is the most rewatchable of all of them. Um,
Yes.
you know,
Yep.
I absolutely love, and I think it's the nostalgia for me of the movie,
Yep.
the lines of the movie. It's a fun movie.
So that said, how you rate this one? Scale of 1 to 5. Rewatchability.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be like a 4.5, maybe 4 3/4. Like I said, for the most part, if I'm flipping through channels on a Saturday and there's nothing really on and I see Back to the Future, I'll more than likely watch it.
Mhm.
And
Me
it's
too.
one of those movies that I could start anywhere in the movie and just I already know where we are. I can just keep watching. It's one of those movies that, and I even think it was like a lot of times growing up, it like on Turner Movie Classics or something like that. It was one of those movies on one of those channels, TBS or something. It would be like a Saturday. They're throwing it on to watch. I Back then I would stop. I would watch it. Now, since we have media in different ways, I may download it onto my iPad to watch on an airplane, or something like that. It's one of those go-to nostalgic movies of my childhood.
Yep. Agreed. Our rating's pretty much dead on. Um, you know, it's it is so rewatchable. It is so much fun. Um, I remember going to the movie theater and seeing the later episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So it just brings that that memory as a kid, and it is a fun. I'm with you. My score would be probably 4.75 out of 5.
Okay, yeah. So
I'm tough. Like, so, just real quick as we're getting, like, to me, the absolute perfect movie of all time. It's my favorite movie of all time, which surprises people when I say this, is Casablanca. I think it is the most perfect movie if you want a film study and how to make a movie, writing, casting, everything. That movie is 5. We will do it because, as I said in the beginning, the joys of being the host.
the joys of
We get
being one of the hosts. Yeah,
we get to pick our movies. But this one is, as far as rewatchability, is right behind it. It is
yeah.
right there. Um,
Well, even the bringing in pop culture of the day into the past, like it's just popped in my head when he goes to his dad's house and he's wearing the radioactive suit and he's Darth Vader from planet Vulcan.
yeah,
He's just, I'm sure he's like remembering things that he's heard his dad say or or whatever, but just bringing in those pop culture things of that day,
yep,
it's it's such a good movie, and like I said, you could watch it over and over and find little things that they wrote in that you never noticed before, which makes it just that much better of a watch every time you watch it.
absolutely. If it was made today, it'd be a blockbuster. As big a blockbuster it was in 1985.
And my
It
kids like it.
yeah,
Even today with cell phones and all this stuff, they didn't need that to enjoy the movie. It's just the story is a story that can be told over and over. And the good news is Robert Zemeckis has said as long as he's alive and he has control, it will never be remade.
yeah. There's no way. It's one of those movies that if they tried to remake it,
It wouldn't work.
the magic wouldn't work because it's not just the writing. It was the casting.
Mm-hmm.
It was the effects because you're going to have this temptation to make it way more,
Mm-hmm.
CJ. It's just not going to work. Leave it alone. Let it stand. It's perfect the way that it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, love it. Like,
I'm not a believer that, you know, I don't think most movies need to be remade. If it's a classic that holds up, there's no reason to remake something.
let it go.
Let's keep this classic and just, stay with that. I don't need to see it remade. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is a great movie. A great movie to start with.
Yep, it is.
For our first episode.
And we've got some more fun ones. We've discussed it in the hopper. We're coming up on Thanksgiving, so stay tuned. I'm not going to give
Yeah,
you.
so should we tell people that are going to watch how we want to do this, that we'll tell you the next movie
Yeah,
so that you can go back and rewatch it with us, and then
which
we
is a
can
fun
have
one.
that conversation. Yeah. Oh, again,
Go ahead.
classic Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the best Thanksgiving movie ever made.
Yes.
Absolutely love it. We will get into it. So my wife and I, Tony and I, we speak in movie quotes. Like, that is a part of
This is the
life.
one. So
And
we're not going to go too far, but
yeah,
yes.
no, there are quotes. To this day, my wife and I use quotes from this movie all the
Love
time.
this movie.
It
Love
is
it.
such, but, and we've already kind of told how old we are. John Hughes wrote the story of our childhood.
Yeah, yeah,
And we're going to start with, we're going to go into John Hughes
yeah.
coming into
Planes,
in the
Trains, and
next
Automobiles.
episode.
So watch it, so you can come along with us, and maybe you'll see on that journey. You'll be able to see what we miss, what we add, interact with us on it. But yeah, I mean, so that's a wrap. Thank you for revisiting another film with us on Real Rewind. The credits may roll, but the memories will stick around. Please follow us on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. Give us a like, give us a review, give us some movie suggestions. We'll be on YouTube as well, so go on there and make sure you subscribe. Click that hype button.
Yeah, that's
Let
the new
people know that
button,
you
the
like
hype
us.
button.
Yep. Let them know that
Like,
you like us.
hit the thumbs up, the like button. Put in the comments if we missed something from this movie, or if you agree with us, or your favorite line. Let us know. Let's have the conversation in the comments.
So we'll see you all next episode.
Yeah, we'll see you later.